Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be giving you a complete explanation of MVP, that is minimum viable product. My company has made dozens of MVPs for startups and organizations for different use cases. My name is Saurabh Mishra and I'm the CEO of EOSys Private Limited. Without wasting any time, let's get started. To ensure that I'm able to explain this concept better, I have divided it into 4 parts. The first part would be what is MVP, wherein I'll give you a basic understanding of MVP. In the second step, I'll explain you what are the benefits of making an MVP. In the third step, I'll lay down the steps that you can follow to make a successful MVP. And in the fourth fourth part, I'll explain you things you need to keep in mind when you embark on the journey of making an MVP. So let's start with the part 1. What is an MVP? MVP, minimum viable product, is the simplest version of the product that can be released to start capturing user feedback, right? In MVP, the core functionalities are focused on solving a critical problem that you have identified. You just make the product to solve one specific problem. Anything apart from that is considered bells and whistles and not a part of an MVP. Okay, so let me give you an example. Let's assume that you want to make an e-commerce app or a website. Here your MVP should include product listing, add to cart, checkout. But other functionalities like voice-based search, advanced search, or reward programs, coupon code module, etc., they all won't be part of the MVP, right? Because your core problem is to build an e-commerce infrastructure, right? That is buying and selling of goods online. You are not focusing on enhancing the user experience in your MVP, right? You first want to test this concept, this product in the market and see what is the user feedback. Are users actually interested in your product, right? That's why you make an MVP. Now you must be wondering, why do people make MVP? Well, I have covered that in my part 2, wherein now I'll explain you what are the 4 benefits of making an MVP. The first benefit, I'm sure you must have guessed it ahead, it reduces time to market. So as soon as you get an idea, you list down the problems, your features get reduced, so you are able to implement it faster. So you are able to test your product faster, get user feedback faster. So time to market is drastically faster. In my previous videos, I have explained you when you make a custom software, you can take anywhere between 3 months to 6 months, 9 months of time to actually build your final product. But with MVP in place, you can implement it probably within few weeks, right? The second benefit of making an MVP is it reduces your cost, right? It's direct proportional, right? You will require fewer resources, fewer amount of time of resources to build the MVP. Thus, the cost of MVP is drastically less. So you can well go in a fixed budget, test your concept, and then plan a full-fledged implementation. The third important benefit of an MVP is risk mitigation. So your idea, whatever your idea would be, you first want to see whether this actually works or not. So you're not investing a lot of time, efforts, money into it. You are not increasing your risk. Let's say if it doesn't succeed, your downside is minimal because you have just invested minimum amount of time, energy, effort into it. That's why your risk gets mitigated, well mitigated. And I have seen this in countless projects. There are so many projects, I would say in 2016 when there was a startup boom again in India, we implemented dozens of MVP, okay, specifically for startups. So 8 on 10 of these startups failed, right? And the reason was their idea was too far-fetched. But the best part was that most of these guys built an MVP. So their risks were well in control, in check, the budget, everything was in their control, right? So they experimented. Sadly, it failed, but it was well in controlled environment. Okay, so that's the third benefit of making an MVP. The fourth important benefit is user feedback. See, when you roll out an MVP, you don't have to go ahead and always do a PPT. You can simply tell the user to see the product and see how they feel, and you can capture their feedback. And this feedback is very valuable in creating the dream product, the final product. If customer resonate, if your end user resonates with your MVP, this will give you valuable insights. Maybe there are features that you even didn't think of in the first place. So you will get that from your customer. So you start that feedback loop, right? So those were the 4 benefits of making an MVP. Let's understand the third part of this topic. What are the steps involved in making an MVP? So first step is always identifying the problem. So you have to know what is the problem out there, right? Prominent startups that have now become giants like Airbnb, Dropbox, even Facebook for that sake, they all started with MVP. And each of the 4 founders, they first identified the problem, whether it was a social disconnect, whether it was lack of platforms to share files across to your friends and colleagues, or creating a platform to share the space, additional space that you have. Airbnb that solved it. They first identified the problem in the market, right? So you first have to be cognizant of that. The second important step is you define the core functionalities. You define, okay, what are the functionalities that I just need to solve my problem, okay? You can create a spreadsheet, Kanban, anything, whichever tool that you want to use, or visualization that you want to create. You just list down the core features, functionalities of the phase 1, that is your MVP, and anything additional to that you put it in phase 2. You don't even think of implementing anything. As much as it may sound attractive to you, you don't include that in your MVP. So that is defining core features. The third step is you build the MVP. You reach out to any development company and you get it done. My company does that. So if you are looking to build an MVP, we should definitely be in your consideration set, right? So you reach out to any development company and you actually develop the MVP. And the fourth step is you release the MVP, and this is the most important step, that you start capturing the customer feedback. You test it and then you start capturing the customer feedback. So without feedback, the whole initiative of MVP is gonna fail, right? So you test and you capture the feedback, and the fifth step is you evolve the product. Now it just goes on a loop. You introduce more features, get customer feedback, pretty much similar to agile methodology, I would say, but you capture the feedback and then you build the right product. So those are the key steps that are involved in an MVP. This brings me to the fourth part of the video. What are the common mistakes that people do when they build their MVP? These are the things you need to avoid, okay? The first is building too many features. Remember, MVP is all about creating just the essential features with which you can take your product and release in the market. If you add too many features, maybe the MVP won't work, maybe it doesn't resonate with your end user. You'll probably end up spending more time, efforts, money on the project. So please avoid that. I've seen few projects wherein people have got their hands burnt by adding more and more bells and whistles, functionalities, flashy functionalities to their product, which is actually not even essential to the end user. So please avoid that. Second important thing is ignoring user feedback, okay? If you don't listen to what your customers are saying, then you are just blinded by your own assumption of a problem. So please listen to what customers are saying. Give them an Excel document or a form. There are so many ways through which you can capture the feedback, or a one-on-one call session interview with them would also help. This will solidify your opinion of the problem that you are trying to solve, or maybe correct you that okay, the problem is just in your head and not actual problem, or not probably your product is not an effective way to solve that problem, okay? So please do not ignore user feedback. Whatever startups I mentioned during the video and many more that you see around, they are successful because they heard what users are saying, right? So those were the things you need to keep in mind, or rather things you can avoid when building your MVP. So with this I have covered everything that is related to the concept of minimum viable product. If you are interested in building a minimum viable product for yourself, please reach out to my company EOSys Private Limited. The link would be in the description. You can fill in the inquiry form, and I or one of my colleagues will get in touch with you and do our best to help you in making your dream MVP. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Take care.